right. Well, if you want to take to social media and tell Bud Light what you think of them, you cannot, because Bud Light has turned off comments on YouTube, on Instagram, on other social media platforms, because they just can't take it. Because the heat is turned up so high on Bud Light because of a political statement. We are going to talk about this Bud Light controversy and why this is an awesome lesson in stakeholder capitalism and why it doesn't work. But first, I want to introduce you to this awesome concept, because I think this is exactly what we're seeing happen right now. This is a German word called Verschlimmbesserung. You try and say that.
Verschlimmbesserung.
So this is your vocabulary word for the day. It means when someone tries to improve a situation, but you only end up making it worse. I love this concept. We don't have an English equivalent of this word. Here's some examples. Like when you change your own windshield wipers. That never works out for me. When you cut your own bangs, right? What are some examples of Verschlimmbesserung?
Oh boy.
Boys?
Try to.
Yeah, for me, it's like cutting your own hair.
I don't know.
That's a good one.
I cut my own hair and I put on my own windshield wiper, so I'm at a loss.
That's so hard.
He's always the contrarian.
I know.
Right? He's always the contrarian.
You always make things better when you try to make things better. You never muck it up.
Yeah.
He's like a golden boy.
Yeah,
he can't help it.
Yep, I never make mistakes.
When he walks down the street in a rainstorm, there's a patch of sun that follows him, like around, like a little
everything
happy
goes
cloud.
your way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're a Bud Light, when you're a beer brand and you sponsor gender ideology and you alienate people who are gender critical, and then you release a statement to appease both sides, thereby appeasing nobody. That's what's happening to Bud Light. Verschlimmbesserung. Now, here's the YouTube page for Bud Light. If you go to youtube.com/Bud Light, it's dark.
Oh, it's gone.
And here are the comments on this most recent ad. We're going to play it for you in a second. Turned off almost immediately after it aired. See down the bottom, it says comments are turned off because people just couldn't help themselves. So, okay, why? A little background. Bud Light sponsored transgender person Dylan Mulvaney by sending Art Deco cans with Mulvaney's face. Here is a clip of Mulvaney sort of playing up the female stereotype of not liking sports and not understanding what, March Madness, which is about, which, okay, that's fine. A lot of people don't like sports. It's not really a gendered thing, but it does play into a female stereotype of ignorance and non-sports following. But you would hope that, like, when you get a can of beer with your face on it and it says March Madness, you could at least look that up. But here is the whole, like, charade of, like, I don't get it, but here's some Bud Light. We'll just play the first part.
Hi. Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me...
We can cut that. I meant to cut it down lower. So anyway, the face, of this transgender person was on the can, and it alienated people who are gender critical and were very vocal about it. Now, personally, I want to say I was a little bit more bothered by this ad, this Nike ad. I don't care that. Do we have the clip of that?
You want the Bud Light shower beer ad?
No, I want the still of the Mulvaney Nike.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
My bad.
No problem. This
I told you I don't make mistakes.
Oh, right. Verschlimmbesserung. Okay.
This is Mulvaney.
This
as
is another,
Nike.
Nike spoke for specifically Nike women. And I don't care if a biological man wears those clothes, let them. I care that Nike is using this body to promote a sports bra. Now, as someone who's curvy, I've always had, I was a C cup really early in life, and I've always sort of agonized over sports bras because I like to be active. And it's an expensive and extensive thing to seek out supportive active wear. It's not a joke, not to me anyway. And I feel like Nike using this body, using hormonally produced boobs, tells me they don't get it. They don't get how it's not a game. It's not to be cute. That's not to say that Nike doesn't have other people in their ads who have fake boobs. I'm sure they do. Man-made boobs. Get it? Man-made boobs.
Man-made boobs, yeah.
But it does tell me that Nike doesn't like sympathize with women's struggles for supportive sportswear, but they once did. Here is Nike's sports bodysuit that Serena Williams had them make for her during her postpartum body in 2018. They seem to understand the complexities of womanhood then. It seems to me, anyway, this is my opinion, that they don't now. So back to Bud Light. The CEO of Anheuser-Busch released a statement saying they never meant to be a part of a discussion that divides people, and that just pissed people off more. It was not an apology to people who don't want to validate gender ideology, and it was not a full-throated stance of affirmation to the transgender community, which they want. The transgender community is now saying, double down on this. Tell us that you support Dylan Mulvaney. Show us that, you meant to do it and you stand with trans people. Bud Light can't really do that. So, Veschler Sessenbassen. Sorry. Didn't come out.
You already forgot it.
Now, last week during the NFL draft, Bud Light tried to sort of make things better with this do-si-do Americana advertisement. Look, here we are. We're just like clean-cut Americana fun in the rain.
It's a hoedown.
Well, that's kind of a fake
Wash it
fake
away.
video because all the country artists got rid of Bud Light at their shows, so that's a fake.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just like a conservative trope. Like we're just cowboys. We're just salt of the earth. And when we hang out at rodeos in Wyoming, we go down to Cheyenne. We all grab, we're watching Yellowstone, and then we go to Cheyenne to do a rodeo. We're all drinking Bud Light.
Like, wash the rain away, singing in the rain type of thing. This still did not cut it. People still feel so divided by Bud Light that, again, the company had to turn off all comments on this ad. They thought it would make it better, and it got so crazy they just turned it off. At least they know now that nothing that they can do can make this better. And it is, in fact, hurting their bottom line. Bud Light lost 26% in profit last week, and those 26% of customers were evenly split. 13% went to Coors Light and 13% went to Miller Lite. So both of those brands saw a 13% increase in their sales. We don't have data to how many people switched to Yuengling, but after this post, most people interpreted it as a dig, and a lot of people said, oh, okay, I will go to Yuengling because of this, which was right after that Budweiser statement saying, the oldest brewery in America, independently owned and family operated because we make good beer. I guess people took that as like a dig. I don't really see it all of that much of a dig.
No, it's just like, hey, what we're saying is, I know maybe if you've been drinking Bud Light crap beer for so many years, there's actually a really good beer out there. It's called Yuengling. Maybe you should try it. Yeah. Now here's an opportunity. Here's your opening. Go try an actually really good beer. Yeah.
Now, I'm a non-drinker, but if I do drink beer, I like Yuengling. I've always liked it. Boys? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yuengling?
Yep. Dick Yuengling?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
My Pennsylvania beer was Straub. We used to get Straub, which was a Pennsylvania beer when we would go to Pennsylvania. But I've had Yuengling, but not in a long time.
Many years ago, I would, what's his name? The head of... Sam Adams. I've interviewed him a number of times. You got me his book, his autobiography.
I don't remember his first name.
Anyway, yeah, and they're friends. Like they're like the family-owned beer companies in the United States. There's very few of them, and so they all know each other. Like the Yuengling family, Jim, the owner of Sam Adams, Jim Cook. Yeah. So they all know each other, right? And instead of these big corporations, which Anheuser-Busch, right, is owned by InBev, which is it's like
a Belgian company.
Is it Belgian or South African now or something? Yeah. So not even American beer.
Now, Mulvaney has made this video in response to this backlash, and, they're acting very hurt-feelinged, which I'm sure is sincere. I think we should remember that this person is still very young. He's only 26, and is pumped full with a ton of synthetic hormones. So I'm sure this is hurtful for somebody like this. Let's watch this response quickly.
But I'm doing okay. And I'm trying this new thing where I don't pressure myself to share anything before I'm ready. And I'm actually sitting with my emotions, not reacting, waiting to respond. And shockingly, I can't recommend it more. All
right. Now, they do later on go to say something that caught my mind and something that I would kind of like to share about my beliefs about gender dysphoria. Well, listen to this, and then I'm going to bring something up as an aside.
And I don't know if reincarnation is a thing, but in my next life, I would love to be someone non-confrontational and uncontroversial.
I thought I'd share that with you because I do believe in past lives and coming here with a soul journey in mind. And Clayton and I both read the great book, Journey of Souls. And in it, therapist Michael Newton found that people from all walks of life, all genders, all races, all said the same thing about the afterlife when under hypnosis for other things, and how souls choose their paths in advance. Now, one thing he says about gender has stuck with me all of these years. He says that many people live several lives as one gender and then choose to experience a life as another gender that they're not used to. Remember that? Uh-huh. And that a lot of times they're doing that to sort of balance out their soul experience, but it can be quite uncomfortable. That is actually how I think authentic gender dysphoria comes about, is people who are just not used to being that kind of gender. But if you think about that for a second, if you just like give me this privilege of thinking this through as a thought experiment, if that's true, and you choose your gender experience as a soul balancing lesson, is it possible that a transgender person is just not comfortable in this experience, but they chose it as an experience? And if so, what are they doing by switching midlife? Right? They're not getting that soul experience that they're already agreed to. Now, again, I don't want to lead you on this one. I think it's an existential type question that we all can ponder. You think about that and get back to me. So back to Bud Light. Now, the boycott seems to be sticking in a way that a lot of boycotts don't. You might remember, boycotts are big these days. Uber was boycotted, Chick-fil-A because of relationships to Trump. Those boycotts don't seem to stick. But this one hasn't faded. Here is from Beer Business Daily after sales continued to slump for more than a month into the controversy. They say the shocking deterioration of Bud Light's blue market share continued apace through the third week of April and actually worsened. We've never seen such a dramatic shift in national share in such a short period of time. And why is this? Because stakeholder capitalism is a farce. We've talked about this a lot when we go through like World Economic Forum, Davos schedules. Stakeholder capitalism is when a company says that they will make decisions in the interest of everyone instead of just for shareholders. And it's not possible, and it's a perversion of democracy. When a company makes decisions about what's best for everybody, that means that only people with corporate money and corporate power can influence policy and have more of a say in our society than voters. Nobody should want this. Here is a quote from Vivek Ramaswamy. We went over this when we talked about the Adidas boycott of Kanye West. He says, curiously, today, most ardent supporters of stakeholder capitalism are liberals, but not for Bud Light. For Bud Light, they're trying to say, the boycott's not happening. If you boycott it, you're a transphobe. They're saying that this boycott shouldn't happen. Moreover, but when you think back on Disney, they absolutely wanted a boycott on Disney because Disney didn't stop Ron DeSantis from his education bill. Down below, it says, stakeholder capitalism is Citizens United on steroids. It not only permits corporations to influence our democracy, it demands that they do so by advancing whatever social values they choose. Ironically, those who vehemently proclaim that corporations aren't people, which are liberals, are now the ones that demand corporations act more like people. And so it's not that we should ask Bud Light to take a stand now. We should want Bud Light to have never taken a stand.
Right. That's Vivek's
on gender
whole point.
ideology.
They shouldn't have gotten involved in this in the first place. Like this should never have been part of the discussion.
Right.
And that's the problem. Like by that first step where they then try to align themselves with some sort of ideology, woke or otherwise, that's the mistake. Why do we want these companies doing it? Make beer.
And so now they can only double down on the same mistake. They have to choose a side. And by not doing so, they're hurting their bottom line. They either now take a side and say, yes, we meant to, promote gender ideology and biological denialism, or we didn't mean that. We don't stand for gender ideology. We actually are gender critical. And one side is going to be pissed and they can't do nothing. This is another German word that describes this perfectly, is Zugzwang. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. Zugzwang. It's when it's your turn to play and all of your moves are bad options. And so right now, gender ideology is being litigated and debated. It should not be happening in corporate America. It should be left to the courts to decide how this plays out in our society. In fact, just this week in Kansas became the first state to define male and female with Bill SB 180, called the Women's Bill of Rights. Now, under it, a female is defined as an individual whose biological reproductive system is developed to produce an ova. A male is defined as an individual whose biological reproductive system is developed to fertilize the ova of a female. It also defines gender words for calling woman and girl to be referred to human females, and man and boy to refer to human males. It defines mother as a parent of the female sex and father as a parent of the male sex. I can't believe we need to say this now in state law. But Kansas Governor Laura Kelly actually vetoed this bill, and the legislature voted to override her veto, so it sticks. And this is where things should be worked out right now, not in corporate boardrooms, but instead in our democracy. We should not want rich and powerful corporations dictating our society. When a company does this, it inevitably forces them into, you say it, Clayton.
Verschlimmbesserung.
Verschlimmbesserung. Okay. So that is where Bud Light currently stands. Let us know what you think about my sort of spiritual options.
People let you know what they thought of that.
What did they think? No?
People had some thoughts on that.
Okay, you can sum it up later.
I'll tell you later. After the show.
And give me some more examples of Verschlimmbesserung.
That's the world. That's what makes the world spin. We all have difference of opinions.
I don't want to put anything on anyone. This is just sort of a thought experiment. I will never, shoot down anybody's beliefs systems and never push mine on yours. That's
the worst. Those are the worst kind of people in the world. The people that think that they know everything and they have all of the answers.
But, this is like an interesting story about, and I don't want to reduce it to go woke, go broke, because I think it's a more interesting story about stakeholder capitalism. But it's also nice to have like an existential conversation about it too, about, how gender dysphoria might be legitimate in somebody's soul journey. But yet, does it mean we reorder society or make life safe for other people who don't have gender dysphoria?
Let us know your thoughts on that.
That's always my argument against it, because if you do that, then you have to go to the least common denominator. You have to go to the least like the person that's offended the easiest, and you have to start there.
Yeah.
If you want to go down that road, and so that makes it so that the weakest among us determine the laws, and that's dangerous.
Yeah. Willie C says, I wouldn't discount the possibility of your theory, Natalie. And others saying, absolutely not. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey.
It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Well, this isn't a cable news show where we have a 3-minute segment where we just go to commercial. We have a discussion about the news, and that's why you guys are the smartest audience in all of broadcast, and all of YouTube, and all of Rumble. We have the smartest audience. As one of our guests recently said, they did the segment, and later the next day they saw all of the comments, and they're like, "Wow, you have a really smart audience."
Yes.
So, yes, you do. You are very smart. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.